Hi there, welcome to the discussion of our All India Open Mock, which was, if you're a BYJU'S student, you know it is mock 22. For if you're not, then this is the third opportunity that you have of benchmarking yourself against some of the most serious aspirants that we have in the country. My name is Vikrant. I'm your personal coach for all things related to English and communication skills. So let's go ahead, dive deeper into this particular section, learn to eliminate options and reach the right answer choices throughout the course of our discussion. So welcome aboard and let's get started. So here is our first passage which talks about a topic, which talks about an area that I was very fascinated about. I in fact remember when I was in college and I sat for these interviews, astronomy was one of those things that I actually stated as my hobby. So I read the first line, the cosmos continues to surprise us, and I'm like, okay, sounds promising. And then it talked about a phenomenon that we find surprising, a phenomenon that is baffling the scientists, and it happened to be a celestial phenomenon, so I was hooked. So I read the very first paragraph rather carefully. Latest spectacle, dozens of these worlds orbiting each other, it's all terrific. The next paragraph, fine. When I went to the third paragraph, I did have some suspicions about the quality of the writing from the author. But because you notice they are all called jumbos, this is an idea that is getting repeated. It could easily have been skipped over, so to say. Then there is an introduction to Orion Nebula and the way the stars form there, and then there is some more detail about star formation. All of these things which are very familiar to us, or at least to me, because remember, astronomy, my hobby. And then deuterium fusion, brown dwarfs. Now this was something that I hadn't read for quite a while, so this jogged memory, some of those memories. And then we came back to the jumbos and how and why they are still very baffling, still very confusing. This basically talks about how unlikely their existence is to explain through purely chance. Okay? And then there are some more details that go ahead and tell us why they should not really exist, but they do. And then a very interesting thought experiment that, hey, could we find a sparse region, and maybe if these things happen there, then we'd be richer in terms of our knowledge. So that is where it goes on to stop. And with that, let's take it up from here and dive into our questions. So here is your first question. The author is most likely to support which one of the following statements? Now, you know that the moment we are asked support, you are in a way, you can treat it as an inference-based question. One of these things is going to be true according to the passage, and that is the one that you go ahead and choose. That is the one that you go ahead and mark as your answer. So let's start with A. Jumbos have stronger gravitational forces than previously thought for low mass binary objects. I think this can be inferred. In fact, this can be inferred from the previous slide itself. Let's see. Let's just go back and check this. You notice as binary objects decrease in mass, they become less common as their weaker gravitational attraction makes them more easily torn apart. So jumbos have less mass, therefore weaker gravitational force, therefore they should have been torn apart, but in reality they are not torn apart, which means that our guess about the weakness of their gravitational force is not right. Their gravitational force is higher than what we believe. So this is definitely true. That makes it a strong contender for the answer. Okay, B, the Webb telescope is not equipped to detect low mass binary objects such as jumbos, but then how did it go and do that? If it did that, it means that it obviously was equipped. So this is false. C, the reason as to why small binary objects are in pairs can be explained by current scientific models. False. Scientists are baffled about it. Their current understanding does not give them any clue. And then D, jumbos are essentially failed stars. We don't know that. We have been introduced to brown dwarfs, which are failed stars. Jumbos are even smaller. Now, whether they are stars or not, failed stars or not, is something that has not been mentioned in the passage, and therefore the label should be can't say. So, which one of these is consistent with the information mentioned in the passage? Option A, and that is why our answer to question number 1 must be option A. Let's move over to the next one. Okay, so Orion is really massive, really dense. Do we find the same thing happens in a sparse region? So what is the conclusion that we can draw? So one of the things that I can say is that, just focus on the curiosity behind this question. What exactly it is that the author is trying to do. And then if you look at it in the context, let me in fact quickly take you back to that context. It will just take a couple of clicks. Here, that might give us a clue of what formation mechanism might be happening. So this is what the author is actually trying to figure out with the help of that hypothesis of what's happening in a sparse region. So A can very easily be ruled out. B can also be ruled out because it does not establish that connection between Orion and a sparsely populated part of the space. C, scientists wish to study 2 different regions to be able to comprehend formation mechanisms. Remember the last sentence of the paragraph. This is quite close to that. And D, researchers wish to ascertain as to whether or not stars are formed. It's not about stars, it is about jumbos. It is about their formation, and therefore this very clearly becomes irrelevant and can be eliminated. And I think through the process of elimination, it's very easy for us to arrive at option C as the correct answer for this particular question. And with that, let's dive into our question number 3. The author discusses all of the following arguments in the passage except, so let's see. Astronomers are perplexed as to how and why low mass binary objects exist in pairs. True. This is in fact a major theme that has been repeatedly mentioned in the passage. Eliminate. Scientists are extremely confused as to how single objects so small are being formed directly from clouds of dust and gas. Absolutely, absolutely yes. This is in fact part of the mystery, so this is discussed, therefore B can be eliminated. Something about the Orion Nebula still baffles scientists. Yes, that something is called jumbos, so that's also discussed in the passage. Sparse regions are not conducive to jumbos formation. Well, the very last paragraph, the author wants to see whether these things are happening in sparse regions or not, because if it does, then we'd have a deeper understanding. So nowhere does the passage establish that those sparse regions cannot have jumbo formations, and therefore this is a part that has not been discussed, should be chosen as an answer. So for question number 3, it has to be option D. And let's dive into our 4th reasoning based question from the passage. Which one of the following statement is definitely not untrue? So not and un get cancelled out. Which of the following is true? So A, some failed stars can be many times the size of a sun. So in the passage we have established the relationship between the size of the failed stars and Jupiter. But a comparison between a failed star and the sun has not been made in the passage, and therefore this is something that cannot be determined. In short, let's call it can't say. B, stars have greater gravitational force than do jumbos. Yep. More the mass, more the gravitational force. Lower the mass, lower the gravitational force. This is something that can be inferred from the passage, and jumbos do have lower mass than the stars. So therefore this is true. Jumbos are several times the mass of Jupiter. Not necessary. They can be several times the mass of Jupiter's, but they can also be half the mass of Jupiter as well. And therefore to say that they are several times necessarily, definitely, truly is incorrect. So that's false. D. The current scientific model on formation mechanism can only partially explain the existence of jumbos. So we know that it cannot explain the existence of jumbos. Now, is it able to even partially explain explain the phenomenon? No, the scientists are rather thoroughly baffled by this. So even to say that they partially explained is going to be incorrect. So the only option that is true is option B, and therefore that's going to be our answer, and that takes care of our passage number 1.